Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to start our another short story that's written by a Henry, and the story's name is The Last Leaf. So it is our first lecture. Let's start it. Uh, the story starts with certain description. Let me read that. In a small part of the city west of Washington Square, the streets have gone wild. They turn in different directions. They are broken into small pieces called places. You can see these three sentences. They are not very long and they are not very long structures. And you can see that it is description. These sentences are describing a place, right? So we'll break down the lines, the sentences. If we see all these three sentences, you will find that this opening of the story shows us a precise geographical reference near Washington Square Park, right? And that opening fundamentally gives a realism and authenticity. We feel that it is not a fiction, rather, it is describing a place that really exists somewhere, all right? So we can also authenticate it. So by placing the story in a real location, a writer, a Henry, is creating a believable world and prepares us, the readers, for a realistic narrative about everyday life. So we have an idea that we are going to have certain story that covers our everyday life that is very closer to our real life, right? So the streets have gone wild. Uh, this does not mean that streets are literally wild, right? Rather, this clause suggests that they are not regular, they are irregular in construction. They don't follow symmetry. And they are disordered and you cannot predict them. They are unpredictable. You don't know whether you are moving towards one side and you will follow certain pattern. It is difficult here. It means this. The wild word, wild, tells us or gives us this meaning that these streets are unpredictable and they don't follow certain order. So the word wild immediately creates a sense of chaos and lack of control. Something that is wild, it means it lacks control. And it also hints that the environment may influence the lives of the characters in unexpected ways. Then they turn in different directions. The streets are not straight or planned, but twist and turn randomly. This suggests that it suggests confusion and complexity, making the area difficult to navigate. Because when certain, let's suppose you can take example of Islamabad and Rawalpindi. If you go to Islamabad, especially sectors, you will find order. So you can find different places easily. But if you go to Rawalpindi, you'll find that sometimes you find difficulty in finding out certain places, because every area follows different pattern, right? The same is here. And it suggests confusion and complexity. It makes the area difficult to navigate, and it also subtly reflects the uncertain and complicated lives of people living there. That the people who are living there, their lives is also not certain. They are not sure about their life, what's going to happen in the future, and their life is also complicated. So the location of the place is giving us some sort of similarity with the lives of people who are living there. All right. They are broken into small pieces called places. So those streets are, instead of long continuous streets, that area is divided into short sections or places. This fragmentation, it is fragmented place. So this fragmentation emphasizes the uniqueness of the neighborhood and gives it a distinct identity. All right. Similarly, it also suggests a sense of separation and isolation within the city. That place is isolated, that place is separated, that place is different from the other parts of city. I hope these three sentences you have understood. So let me move to the next part. One street goes across itself one or two times. A painter once discovered something possible and valuable about the street. Suppose a painter had some painting materials for which he had not paid. So one street goes across itself one or two times. Let me explain it. Basically, this sentence is showing a certain kind of exaggeration. The fact is exaggerated here, and that exaggeration basically highlights how confusing the layout is, how confusing the whole structure is. A street crossing itself is unusual, and it creates an almost maze-like structure. It is just like a maze that you are moving in a same street one or two times again and again. So it adds to the sense that anyone unfamiliar with the area could easily get lost. If you want to move there, you have to be very, very familiar with that area. Otherwise, you are in trouble. You are lost. You are just like in a maze. Then he says, a painter once discovered something possible and valuable about the street. Now it's telling us about the certain worth of that street, and now the narrative is shifting to a humorous anecdote. He's giving a certain example that is funny, that is humorous, and it mentions a painter. So by mentioning a painter or talking about a painter, the writer is introducing the type of people who live in that area, in those streets, and those are artists. And usually artists are poor or struggling. You can find one of the thousands who becomes famous or becomes successful. Otherwise, majority struggles. Then it says, suppose a painter had some painting materials for which he had not paid. This line basically reveals the economic condition of artists, that artists are penniless, they are not rich. Even the material they are using, there is a chance that they have not paid for that material. They might have borrowed it, or they might have been given by someone, right? So it shows that artists have poor economic conditions. They cannot always afford their supplies, and they may live in debt, in poor condition, in wretched condition. And it also indicates financial hardship that artists have to face. That's terrible. It means the story is going to point out about the lives of artists, how those poor people spend their life and how they meet their ends. Next is, suppose he had no money. Suppose a man came to get the money. The man might walk down that street and suddenly meet himself coming back without having received a cent. Sign of exclamation you can find here too. So suppose he had no money, and then we move forward. So this situation becomes more serious as it introduces the idea of debt collection, and it also shows the pressure and stress faced by poor individuals, that they have to pay money to other people. All right, when you have to pay debts, obviously you always spend your life in under pressure. You don't feel a freedom. You always feel occupied by by the feelings or by the emotions or by the thoughts that you are under debt of someone, and he or she can ask you for payment at any time. So the man might walk down the street and suddenly meet himself coming back without having received a cent. So it shows that this part is also a humorous exaggeration, and it suggests that streets are so confusing that the collector, the person who wants to collect money, might get lost and unknowingly return without collecting the debt. So here you can feel like laughing, right? You want to find a person who is going to pay you his debts, and you are trying to find him out, and you find that you are walking in the maze, right? So here you can find a contrast that uh, you the writer is telling you the harsh real reality of artist, and then suddenly he adds some comic relief, some humor is added, and we feel certain relaxation, we feel certain relief, but uh, it also reinforces the complexity of the setting. Right? Now we'll move further. This part of the city is called a Greenwich Village. Don't pronounce it Greenwich. It is not Greenwich. It is Greenwich. Greenwich or Greenwich, both are correct, but not Greenwich Village. And old Greenwich Village, the painters soon came. Here they found rooms they like, with good light and at a low cost. Now, it is again describing the place. This setting is formally named as Greenwich Village, and it is a place that has some history. And moreover, that history is associated with artists and their unconventional lifestyles. And to old Greenwich Village, the painters soon came. It also this line shows that artists were naturally drawn to this area. It was tradition that artists used to live in that place, and it also makes it a community of create. So it makes this place a community of creative individuals, the place where artists prefer living. And it's not currently happening, but it has the history. Here they found rooms they like, with good light and at a low cost. So this line is showing us the reason why it is, or it was, the preferred choice to live for artists, because that place is affordable, it was affordable, and there is good lighting, artists like lighting, and it is also because this lighting is essential for painting. Here, this sentence also, and it's also not expensive. They are not supposed to pay a lot of money for their living. So here, this sentence also pinpoints the practical needs of artists and reinforces the theme of poverty combined with creativity, low cost, who uh, live in low cost places, the people who are not very rich, who cannot afford living in very expensive areas. All right. So now I have explained different these almost first page of the story. You have the story with you too. So now we try to explain what kind of techniques are used. First one is imagery and personification. It is the style of O. Henry. He uses imagery and personification. So he uses vivid imagery combined with personification to bring the setting to life. The phrase, if you see the phrase, streets have gone wild, it gives human characteristics to the streets. The streets are shown like human beings, which makes them seem alive and uncontrollable like human beings or even like animals. Animals also go wild. So this is not only helps the reader visualize the twisting and irregular layout, but it also creates a strong atmosphere, a strong atmosphere of chaos and unpredictability. And here, the imagery of streets turning, breaking, and crossing themselves forms a mental picture of a maze. You can create an image of a maze. The streets are just like maze. So by doing this, our writer emphasizes confusion and complexity. He relates this structure with the life, that life is a confusion, it's a muddle, it's a complexity, right? It's not simple, it's not very clear, right? Then see, in this part, you can also find humor added by our writer, and you can also find irony. Irony has been part of almost all writers. In our previous story, we also found irony, and here we'll also find irony. Humor is introduced here through the exaggerated examples of the debt collector who might meet himself while walking through the streets. It's exaggeration. It's possibly, it may happen, but it's been exaggerated. And this situation seems unrealistic, but it creates or leaves an effect. And it is effective in showing how confusing the area is. And at the same time, we can find irony in the fact that something amusing is built on a serious issue. And what is that serious issue? The serious issue is poverty and debt. And that poverty and debt is connected to artists who are creators, who have strong imagination, who have the power to produce or to create new things. But how they are living in poverty and they are living under debt. So the humor softens the harsh reality of the artist's financial struggles. We can feel like laughing, though we know we are getting familiar with the lives of artists, how difficult their life is. So in this way, it makes the passage engaging while still meaningful. It creates meaning. It engages us. We don't leave, we don't stop reading. We keep reading sentences and sentences. Then we can also find symbolism in this passage. The streets, basically, uh, they function symbolically. Their importance, their physical importance is less, but their symbolic importance is more. They're wild, their twisting nature, their wild nature, what it does, it represents the unpredictable and uncertain lives of artists who live there. The maze-like structure suggests confusion, a lack of direction, and even entrapment. You get trapped, right? Sometimes you don't find direction even in your life, so it makes you confused. So this symbolism prepares the reader for the deeper themes in the last leaf. It is the beginning. It is the writer is building up a story, and it is he is creating a stage there. He's building some sort of story in your mind. The writer is going to take you towards the real theme or the real story or the real plot of it. So these themes, basically, the deeper themes, which we are going to get familiar as the story proceeds, uh, in these themes, characters you will find, we will find that characters are struggling with illness, hope, and survival. So we can say that this story is focusing on illness. When you are ill, you lose hope. And when you lose hope, you can't survive. But if you keep hope alive, you can survive. Right? That is the main theme of our story. Then, tone and contrast we are going to discuss. O. Henry begins the story with a light, playful tone, and especially through the humorous anecdote. He has started the story with some sort of humor. However, this tone contrasts, there is a contrast with the serious and emotional themes that are going to develop later in the story. Our story is not a funny or humorous story at all. It will tell us it is just like a tragedy, and we are going to feel sorrow in the at the end of the story. Though in the beginning we are laughing, but at the end it's going to be otherwise. So this contrast creates irony and makes the later events more impactful. As the reader moves from a cheerful introduction to a more serious narrative, the story slowly and gradually will become serious. And you will not feel like laughing, you will feel like shedding your tears on certain moments. Then we can also talk about setting. And here the setting is working as an active element in the story. This setting is not just a background, but here this setting is playing the role of an active force in our story. It is leading us towards the main themes, especially the strange layout of Greenwich Village is influencing how people move, how they interact with different people, how they interact in the society, how they interact when they face certain kind of situation, when they are in trouble, how they help each other, right? And how they sometimes avoid responsibilities. They have to take responsibility but they try to escape that responsibility. They try to avoid that responsibility. So it shapes the lives of artists and reflects their struggles. That setting, it gives us the message. It creates an image about the lives of artists, how they spend their lives. By giving such importance to the setting at the beginning, Henry is ensuring that it plays a central role in the narrative. It has connection. It is not useless. It is this setting, the opening has certain purpose, and that setting is going to inculcate certain idea related to the story. So now we are going to analyze it critically, and if we see that the beginning of the story is introducing a richly layered setting that reflects multiple dimensions of human experience. It is not simple. It is intricate. It highlights different dimensions, different aspects of human life, how human beings experience their lives. Then if you see social, you find social and economic reference of their lives. It highlights the poverty of artists who are forced to live in cheap conditions and they struggle with debt. Symbolically, the chaotic streets represent the uncertainty and confusion of life of those artists. And it mirrors the emotional and physical challenges that characters or our artists face. Similarly, we'll also find psychological effect, psychological element. Psychologically, the maze-like environment suggests disorientation and anxiety. When you are moving in a maze, you find yourself disoriented. You will find yourself troubled that you are moving in the same street, moving and moving and moving, and you are not finding out the way, you are not finding the way out, right? So life is like that. It hints at the inner turmoil that will unfold later. That this story will show us inner side turmoil of our artists, younger artists, right? So if you see, the setting also captures the bohemian culture of Greenwich Village, where artistic freedom exists alongside instability. You are unstable, but still you find freedom to do your work at ease. Through humor and vivid description, a writer is creating a contrast between lightness and seriousness. Lightness and seriousness go on together in a life. Sometimes you're serious, sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are in trouble, sometimes you're facing certain kind of, you're feeling sorrow, right? So life is like that. So it makes the passage both engaging and meaningful. So it is not useless. It gives us certain meaning. It engages us. And this is the beauty of the writer's writing style, right? That how he has mixed different things to engage ourselves. Though the story has not the main theme or the main idea has not come here, has not been introduced here, but he is giving us certain hints, certain references, certain ideas to think about. So if you have to conclude it, you can say that this part of the story is an introduction that is a masterpiece, that is that is a master class. Why it is a master class? Because it blends detailed description, literary techniques, and deeper meanings. It is a combination of three different things: very detailed, minute detailing description of the place, of the location. Then certain literary techniques have been used here, and they also give us that description, and with the help of that detailed description and with the help of literary techniques, the writer is giving us deeper meanings. The meaning is not superficial. So it's not only established, we can say that it not only establishes the physical setting, but also reflects social realities, psychological states, and symbolic ideas. With the help of these, by introducing all these, or by reflecting all these, the writer prepares us means we reader, for the emotional depth of the story. So till now, we are going to stop here. I hope you will digest it, and then we will, inshallah, move forward. Thank you for watching.